için değerli konuklar, UPS Vakfı, Uluslararası İnsani Tedarik Zinciri Direktörü Hans Peter'ı konuşmasını yapmak için sahneye davet ediyorum. Hans Peter.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to give the translator a hard time right now. Thanks. So she has a break, and I think she deserves the break and a handful of applause. So it was a good job, though. Now, first of all, I would like to congratulate Serda and the board and the team of CSR Turkey, because I just saw that this is the 10th anniversary, which is usually a big thing for those who have kids. And I think it's a well-grown kid here, as I see that we have a big audience today to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. We are coming together here for this inspiring conference in order to begin our thoughts on the future and what it holds for the organizations we are representing, and especially for the people that are here to help. But before we talk about progress, and you talk about progress and the future, I want to look back a little bit. The date is September 2000. 191 world leaders gathered at the United Nations and signed the so-called UN Millennium Declaration, committing world leaders to a fight against poverty, hunger, disease, illiteracy, environmental degradation, and discrimination against women. Then, 2015, the year the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs, were goals to be achieved. The 8 goals should be achieved at that point of time, at least to a certain extent. New ideas came up, because guess what? They haven't been achieved so far. Now, in 2015, after the 15 years of self-imposed deadline neared, critics began to emerge as well. That was predictable. People complained about a lack of analysis and justification behind the chosen objectives. They pointed to the lack of measurements for some goals and uneven progress among others. Then in September at a UN summit, world leaders adopted a new set of development objectives. These are known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. Like the MDGs, the new goals should look ahead another 15 years to 2030. Now, the SDGs are much more complex, including 17 goals, 169 targets among them. Again, ending hunger, combating climate change, ensuring access to safe water, and once again, critics are emerging. They say the list is too unwieldy to be effective, too costly to monitor, and too hard to measure. But I'm not here to debate the progress of either the MDGs that were done in 2015 or not done, as we know, nor do I want to judge on the SDGs. I leave that to the experts. But I do want to underscore, and that's the main topic, that there is an importance that the private sector remaining engaged as a key stakeholder in our communities globally as well as locally. After all, these are our communities too. Now, the presentations that you will make at this conference and the discussions you will have are important evidence of what we can offer beyond funding. As the private sector, we have people to care, there are innovations, there's expertise, and there are companies, resources, and assets. And I know that the opportunities for the private sector to engage with the civil society, UN agencies, governments, and academia are more abundant now than they were 15 years ago. Who else, if not the private sector, who is usually dealing with progress, with successes, with measurements, because we have to deal with our stakeholders, with investors, with employees, with the public sector and so forth. who else, if not us, needs to weigh in and try to support these type of goals? Because, of course, they are pretty complex. And for those who are uncertain, for the companies, about whether you can have programs that impact global issues as well as local ones, impacting local challenges on the grassroots level as well, I would like to use, just for a moment, my company as an example. As you know, UPS Foundation, I'm representing here as the charitable arm of the UPS Corporation. We have about 450,000 employees worldwide, majority in the US, of course, but a lot as well internationally, about 5,000 people dependent on UPS here in Turkey. Now, of course, it is a big issue to make changes in such a type of a corporation, but we had as type of a sustainable development goals action plan in place, which is took a number of years to develop. It came out of our UPS neighbor-to-neighbor system, where we have an UPS internal recording systems where we are tracking volunteering hours, where we are trying to make sure that people understand why we ask them to help their communities and weigh in, track that better, make sure that we have a better administration so that we know where are people engaging in what. And then we started to do a number of steps to successfully implement the SDGs within our company. So we started with measurement, of course, the neighbor-to-neighbor system, but as well, we introduced a number of KPIs. We went through a process of working with experts to get the right KPIs in place that as well has, that offer us to have goals in place that are achievable, easy to handle, and of course easy to explain as well to our stakeholders. Again, employees, investors, customers. Then we started with infographics, making sure that all the different aspects of what we wanted to achieve within the foundation, our volunteering aspect, the aspect that we are working on diversity and inclusion, the aspect that we have environmental sustainability in our mind, as well as our humanitarian programs that we have in place. Such programs as our Saklam Kobi project here in Turkey. We are dealing with CSR Turkey and some implementers related to small and medium-sized enterprises, that we there have the right measurement and are able as well to explain to the stakeholders. And then we mapped what we had with the SDGs of the UN. And what is relevant as well, we started to align the funding that we have with the mapped SDGs and the goals that we had before, without having the SDGs in place, with an SDG activation and engagement plan at the end of the day, where we are able to have the right resources, financially as well as from our humanitarian perspective, people, assets at the right place, at the right point of time, to make steps helping to let the SDGs live. Now that's one thing. The last point I want to make is, as it is important, even though complicated, to make that live in a company, in a corporation that has a size, it is important to be inclusive. So that means that to take all stakeholders on board and work with them, employees, investors, management, and it is more important even to cooperate and to work together to make sure that there is a possibility and open doors to work with others, other corporations, but of course as well public stakeholders, UNs and others, to make sure that we are working on that SDGs together, because there's one thing for sure, alone nobody is able to achieve that. With that, I'm wishing a successful conference here, hoping you have a lot of insight and exchange of ideas, and that's even more relevant, to have fun, so that you see, you have a smile on your face in working on the sustainable development goals rather than biting into the issues only all the time. Thanks for listening, and I wish you a successful conference.
Please. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.